Alrighty, we got Gladia with us today, and we haven't had Gladia on any sort of interview in I think a little over a year. The first time we had you on the Real Estate Dojo podcast with Tyler. Um,
It,
and you've come a long way. You've come a long distance since then. So I'd kind of like to touch base on that in a minute here. But the reason why I have you today is because I thought you made a really cool post on our Instagram, then tagged us in it. So you posted, shout out to those who hopped on my live, which is awesome.
hmm
In the 12 minutes I was on, I had 4 prospects, 7 dials, 3 correct numbers, 1 wrong number, 1 not interested, and 1 investor/buyer lead for my 21 unit deal. And then at the bottom,
hmm
power of REI Sift. So that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. Um, just give me the rundown on that. What was that day about and what happened?
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I've come a long way. My hair is longer too.
Yep.
I probably don't I probably don't look like I did, but yeah, so just to give you some context before kind of going over
Sure.
what that day. Before I was working a full-time job when I was doing the Dojo podcast.
Sure.
There's a lot going on. Kind of fell off because there's just life that happened, and I, didn't have my stuff together. And me and my well, now business partner, we've known each other for some time now. We've always wanted to get into commercial, and we found the opportunity. We finally joined forces in, I think, December of last year, and really decided to go full force into it, like probably last month. And like that's our sole focus. And I was like, what better way than utilizing REI Sift? I've done the data for dollars challenge,
Sure.
and I recently, the last couple of weeks, I did the first to market challenge, which
Awesome.
is really great because I'm gearing a lot of the what I was doing on the residential with a few tweaks in the commercial. So and putting myself out there, I was like, let me just do a live to showcase the power of REI Sift, because a lot of people talk about like doing a bulk dialing and all that stuff. I'm like, you don't have to do that. And
Yeah.
I think even Tyler talks about like you don't have to um even pull these specific list probates. It's just be consistent with whatever you do have.
Sure.
And so with commercial, sometimes the data can be limited, but I pulled a list, or I got a list from REI Sift, a commercial list, and I just started dialing. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna hop on live. And I was on there for 12 minutes, and I was like, I need to hop on live more often. I was like, how
Yeah.
is it in 12 minutes people were actually picking up the phone? And that was probably because I'm following the first to market model. I think I was like on the second attempt.
Okay.
So I had called them the day before, gone through, or I think I was going through my attempt 3, attempt 2, and then
Sure.
attempt 1, and people picked up. And that was really cool because I think on during that live, like I got an email and information. Had a really good conversation with an investor that has over 500 doors in one of my markets is Los Angeles, which is not necessarily the best known market. It's a
Yeah.
blue state and all that stuff, but just talking about what we do and how we can help him out. And he was like, "Hey, I may be interested in buying." I was like, "Well, I have this 21 unit in LA," and it was just really cool. Where after I got
Yeah.
off because I didn't want to be on there, I was like, what just happened? Like 12 minutes. I'm like, talk about efficiency, but that equates to like the power of REI Sift. And that's why I tagged you guys, because you see it in and out again with all the interviews that you do and just what Tyler has shared throughout the years. Like people really sleep on REI Sift and the power that it brings. Just kind of figure out a system, like, and just be consistent with it. And the rest kind of follows. But it was a trip for a moment where I was just like, wow.
That's so cool.
But I wasn't surprised just because I know how things happen.
Sure. Yeah, like immediate results. That's cool.
Crazy,
Um,
crazy.
what was your experience of the first market challenge? How did that go?
It was great because I already had the knowledge from the data to dollars. So
Sure.
the data to dollars challenge was eye opening because it just blew my mind in terms of, and I'm a big operations. That's kind of my sweet spot. And so like, and given that my previous, when I was in working full time, product was what I did. So I love REI Sift in terms of a product perspective. Um, so I already had the background knowledge of REI Sift, so it's easy for
Yeah.
me to like. For me, it was more on the strategy of like how Tyler goes about like pulling and in the systems of like pulling the data and just like how do you set up the filters. And I just took over the rest. I'm like, okay, say less. I know exactly what to do. I just need to refine this.
Yeah.
And it just really added clarity in terms of because people overcomplicate things, and I'm all about simplifying, and that's what
Sure.
REI Sift is about. So that's literally what I applied. Like whatever he tells you to do, whatever filter he tells you to create, I just copy and pasted that.
Okay. So have you had, I mean, obviously you have been able to implement since the first to market challenge. Do you have like your kind of set flow for how you get that data now? Like how are you getting the commercial stuff?
Yeah, so that was one challenge when my partner and I decided to go full force into commercial. I had to do some research in terms of like, well, it's easy to hop on like a, prop stream or, any of those like service providers to
Mhm.
gather data. But I'm like, how does that work with commercial when we're talking, 5 units and up, if we're talking multifamily or industrial? So I know there's a lot of services that they are a bit pricey, like Reonomy. I know Crexy is one,
Sure.
CoStar. But my biggest challenge was like, okay, what if I want to find an ouchies list, right, of
Right.
probates or whatnot? How is that done in commercial? And I think it can be done, but it can be a little bit tricky in terms of filtering out those specific records. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna figure that out, but let me just pull whatever data I can get. So I got some of the REI Sift data through the data request, which I think is slept on. I think people forget
It
you
is.
can get data for free
Yeah.
just by being subscriber or just
Sure.
having the product, right?
Sure.
So that along, and then I kind of stack that with a Reonomy because I can kind of see like properties that are in financial distress, and so I stack
Okay.
that with whatever data I do have, and then that's my first to market. And I'm sure as I progress, I'll probably refine it to get more
Yeah.
specific lists to give it more granular.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, but like you said, you just want to, take the reins and go. Like that's really the
Exactly.
best. You use the, I guess at this point, a bit of an old REI SIF piece of lingo. You said ouchies. Can you explain ouchies to
Yes.
anyone listening that may not know what they are?
Yeah, ouchies list are, as far as I recall, like those lists that there's pain in
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So like you consider
Yeah.
your probate, foreclosure,
Yeah. Yeah.
eviction, that kind of stuff.
The ouchies list.
Ouchies, they hurt. I'm in pain.
Yep. Yep. They're hurting. And you're primarily just doing LA, right? Or is there some other counties or?
I'm doing LA. And I used to live in California. I moved to Florida, so that's a different.
Oh, which
I'm in
part?
South Florida now,
Oh, okay.
but I may need to visit you guys up north.
Well, Tyler's moving.
He
He's
is.
moving probably closer to you technically. He's moving to Central Florida. So
Oh,
we're
nice.
all online now. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, so it's because I'm out here, I'm like the industrial world out here is different, multifamily. So that's one thing we're gonna start opening up. I did get a list from REI Sift for it, so I have to just go through the flows with that and like skip tracing it and all that and start marketing it too.
Sure. What have you noticed in terms of like how you're opening these conversations with commercial properties? How does that change for you?
It's a big difference because, for the most part with residential, I mean, these sellers are getting phone calls. I mean, obviously, if you're following the first to market or whatever,
Yeah.
you're hoping, that you're the one of a few. But I wanted to approach it a little bit different. And the way my company kind of came about is we consider ourselves a boutique. And I've even recall even
Yep.
seeing Tyler kind of consider that. It's
Yep.
like we offer more than a service. And sometimes selling isn't the best solution for,
Yeah.
especially in the commercial end. Maybe refinancing out of an adjustable mortgage rate or whatever there's
Yeah.
other pain points that we can solve, and that's all through with commercial. It's all relationship based, so it's just coming from value. So the way I approach my conversations is a little bit different. I don't right off the bat ask like, oh, hey Mason, I was calling about your property. Are you looking to sell? Because everyone's probably asking them
Yeah.
that. So the way I approach it is like, hey, I'm part of a boutique, a local boutique in the area. We work with a ton of investors. And I was just looking to see how your property's been performing and if there's anything that our group can do to assist or add value or add value to your property or something somewhere around those lines. And that's so different than what people are accustomed to. A lot of the owners just be like, I don't want to sell. And I'm like, I didn't ask you if you wanted to sell.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I know it's like it's a little bit different. And I've even had sellers be like, oh, my property's doing all right. We may consider selling. And I didn't even
Yeah.
have to ask that. So I like just being different in that sense,
Sure.
and coming from value first. So that's one thing that I've started doing that has really caught on with the conversations. And a lot of them are either saying, no, we're holding off right now because the market is weird, especially like, LA.
Mhm.
But, Florida is a little bit, different. People are more open to having those conversations.
Yeah. And I'd imagine, I've done what, 15, 16, I think you're like my 16th or 17th interview I've done. And we haven't talked a whole lot about commercial, which I'd
Hmm.
like to start talking more about. Um, I'd like to see if it's okay. Can we hop into your Sift account and kind of how you organize things when it comes to the commercial stuff? Because there's a lot of references that we have um, towards just
Yes.
the regular old, home stuff here. Alrighty, so we are in Gladia's account, and she's going to kind of just walk us through here what her account looks like, how she manages her data on the commercial side, how things move, how they come in, the whole 9 yards. So feel free to just kind of run with it, and anything you feel like would be of value to someone interested in commercial or really just anything with Sift. Just kind of give us a rundown what you think.
Yeah, for sure. So with commercial, and again, this is fairly new, like with
Yeah.
like literally a month of like fully focus on commercial. So I'm sure there's things I may switch up. So, but I'm still applying pretty much the same
Yep.
principles I was doing with residential. Because honestly, it's just the main thing is getting through as many prospects, being intentional with the phone calls. So
Perfect.
I, for this example, I can say that I grabbed a list from REI Sift. I actually have it bookmarked here. Just literally requested the information for it, pull the list, and upload that list. And I literally, if I go here, I literally have a first to market. And this is all that I
Beautiful.
learned from the first to market challenge. Is you have your pool that you send. For right now, like I said, I'll probably be adding Florida. But
Yeah.
these I'm structuring now by the asset class. So it's apartments, warehouses, and right now Los Angeles. So that's again just keeping it super simple because I could have been in the weeds honestly on like getting
Yeah.
specific data to like go through the first to market. But I know here, okay, for my next check, okay, I'll have to send 73 direct mails. I have my ready to market. This is everything that skips. So it's just so easy. And I just create reminders and checks on like every week
Yeah.
to do those, send those direct mail for the first one. And then I also have a monthly reminder for the rehash that he
Okay.
talks about. So it's literally all here, that I literally go through. And then when it's time to follow up, I literally just start with cold call attempt 3,
Yep.
attempt 2, and then go through attempt 1. So these are all people I'll have to follow up with. Um, and that's really it. I'm literally just applying the same principles. It's just a matter you just having to be consistent with it. So it's not necessarily like doing commercial
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, you're doing this one thing that's so different. It's really the same stuff.
Yep.
And just applying it and being consistent with it.
Yeah. And that's, you know, it's important to know that because it shouldn't be a massive change of pace to change your whole you don't have to change your whole marketing flow to go from residential or to commercial. It's kind of all the same
Right.
thing, talking to people who may or may not want to sell, and it's up to you to make sure that you keep track of what happens. And it's really cool that you keep, mentioning that it is a simple thing. And like, I can see that you want to like explain more, but you don't need to, it's already been laid
It's
out
right
pretty
there.
good. Could you,
Yeah, exactly.
would you be able to explain to anyone watching that may not know what a rehash is? Is that still fresh in your mind to explain that?
Yeah, as far as I recall, it's sort of like because you're literally going through like
Yep.
it's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yep.
So after your third attempt, and I just follow the 3 attempts. I know some people do more,
Yeah.
but after the third attempt, so on the fourth and more, they get pulled into it's why it's also called pulled
Yep.
into cold calling and then mail. So out of
Mhm.
the kind of going down the line after I've gone through my third attempt and I updated to 4, it gets pulled into this one. And so that means, oh, I don't know why it froze up. But it just means that I can go through this and put it through a bulk dialer or
Okay.
bulk texting. I like to kind of just dial too, but we're also considering if there's a good amount of mobile numbers to also kind of shoot it to like a bulk text as well,
Cool.
to try to get in contact with them. And then um, the bulk direct mail is the same thing, but it's just properties that aren't the mailing isn't vacant. So I have a reminder that I check every month on
Okay.
that to send off, and that's super easy. You just select everything that's in that filter,
Mhm.
and then you can just do a bulk direct mail send.
Got you. So you come in and you just have a notification saying, "Hey, make sure you do your direct mail for the day."
Yep, yep, exactly. It's super simple. Again, I'm all about simplicity too, and then as I become more comfortable with it, I'll add a few tweaks here and there because I like to like keep it simple so that I understand it. And
Hmm.
then as I understand it, become like a lot more confident and I kind of know the power of it, then I can start, making some shifts and changes
Yeah.
to it.
So are you mostly operating out of your filter presets, or do you operate out of Sifline too?
I mostly do the filter for the SIF line. Um, I am only like managing like kind of like our deal board
Yeah.
that we're working. Um, But sometimes if I just want to like review on a high level, like my
Yeah.
first to market, then it's like, okay, cool. Like, all right, it's nice to have that visual. So it's
Yeah.
just there as like a visual.
Hmm.
Um, I am starting to add like along with my process a go no go or deep prospecting, which is like, hey,
Yeah.
you've exhausted all numbers, and that's another check that I do as well on I think on a monthly basis,
Yeah.
where I check all right, whether all my exhausted, they've been skip traced twice. I usually skip trace either through batch skip tracing or one that I've done where I've purchased data as well as like kind skip tracing.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
I always end with RAI SIF skip. Like that's always usually my
Okay.
second skip tracing flow. And then so if that still comes up, um, then I'll label it, I'll either tag it or add a status of like, hey, this needs to be deep prospect. Um, and then I'll, do the research from there. Because especially in like commercials, I mean, if you're talking bigger buildings, of course, these may not come up, but for those smaller, like say multifamily or even
Yeah.
industrial, like, may pop up.
Yeah. I've noticed that it's kind of cool because it's almost like we give people the option. You can operate your entire business out of the filter presets, or you could operate it entirely out of Sifline, or you can use it situationally like you. Um, and I'm noticing more and more as I'm having more conversations that that's kind of a nice thing to have. That if you need to, for some reason, I don't know what it is about working on a computer, but sometimes you really feel like you can be like caved into walls, but then you can go into like a SIF line. It kind of like just expands the vision for some reason. I don't know how it can happen like that on a computer, but it's just what it is. I think you were in the computer space, right? Why does that work like that?
Oh no, we should be studied. Our brains work
Yeah.
different. I'm a visual person, honestly. But in terms of like task of like making calls, I like the obviously going through the records page of like I want access to everything. That's just
Yeah.
how I am. But there may be some people who are like, oh, let me just work out a quick view and then make the calls.
Yeah.
I like to I want to take up the entire
Yeah.
screen, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. So cool. So that's the Sift line. We saw your filter presets. We learned about your flow. We learned about how you get your data, what kind of data you're getting. You pretty much gave us all of your secrets. Is there anything that you think we should still cover that you haven't covered? I mean, I would love to continue to follow up with you in the future.
Hmm.
Obviously, you know, you have, not everybody can make content. They say everybody can make content, but not everybody makes content. And I'm not
Right.
claiming to be good on camera, but I would claim you're good on camera. So it's cool that
Oh,
when you're making
thank you.
content and like you're tagging us and stuff, it's cool because we want to have the opportunity to share more about REI Sift, not through my voice or Tyler's voice, because it's plausible that it's becomes oversaturated. I say the same things, you know, he says the same things. Every now and then we update. So it's really cool for people like you to care enough about us to share some content. So we really appreciate that. And if that's all, I think that's all we got. So I don't think I need anything else from you. You've done more than enough to help me out, and just thanks for posting content and being such a good supporter of us.
Of course, thanks again for reaching back out. I feel like it's a full circle moment. I feel like even the last time we spoke, I even feel like I was a different person in general. So it's cool kind of and that's the beauty with REI Sift too. I kind of see it where it's like if you're a surfer, kind of like go with the waves. You just kind of
Yeah.
things can change, but REI Sift will always be there.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool because I did take a break from real estate just from like life stuff happening and being
Mhm.
able to hop back into REI Sift and see all the changes that Tyler and his team have made to the platform is really cool. And you can tell, I mean, coming again from a product
Yeah.
background, like he really cares about his clients and his customers and the changes that he's making. It's known that he's listening.
Yeah.
And you don't always see that with products. So that's why I've always stuck around, even if I've paused. I'll always be an RI Sift user just because of just how Tyler and his team advocate for his users.